Miss Jiang buys a washer from a used goods site, but after the installer finishes installing, the washer won't even turn on. The man said the washer's busted. Miss Jiang, refusing to believe, just asked him to try again. She casually moves forward to try herself. The man told her a lot of scammers sell broken stuff online. Days before, Ms. Jiang learned about the used goods site from her friend Daljia when Ms. Jiang complained about her spoiled washer. Daljia said she bought a used item on the site and the price was cheap. Ms. Jiang later went on the site and saw a used washer put up for urgent sale at a very compelling price. She was happy and arranged for the washer to be delivered to her address. Now Ms. Jiang is upset at the seller for sending her a broken washer. Ms. Jiang had already spent a lot moving into her new apartment, and now another 300,000 won is gone for free. She goes back online to look for the seller. However, after a long hours of searching, Ms. Jiang couldn't find him. It is as if his profile has vanished into a thin air. After not getting any information, Ms. Jiang turned to the police. She handed them her statement and hoped the officers would soon catch the scammer. But she is shocked to learn that it will take 3 to 4 months before they would investigate. The leader has to come in to calm down, saying there are a list of similar cases they have to finish investigating before reaching her case. Ms. Jiang goes to pick her washed clothes from the laundry and struggles to carry the heavy laundry back to her apartment. The bag couldn't even hold them, splitting open, sending the wet clothes on the ground, adding to Ms. Jiang's frustration. She wouldn't be going through this trouble if the man hadn't sold her a broken washer. Ms. Jiang made up her mind to not let it go. She couldn't wait to get home and search the site again. If not for a familiar keyword he put under his post, Ms. Jiang wouldn't have found his ID because he has changed his account and is selling new items. Ms. Jiang felt proud of herself when she finally finds his other fake account. She leaves a comment under the post to warn others. The scammer saw this and didn't feel happy, texted back to warn her not bite what she cannot chew, but Ms. Jiang felt bad people should be exposed, so she didn't think much of it. Late for work, Ms. Jiang sneaks inside the office, praying that the team leader will not see her. But what wish for is not always what we get. The chief still sees her and calls her to his office. He demands why she is late. Ms. Jiang explains that she stayed up all night searching for the scammer. Even so, the chief didn't go easy on her. Although he scolded her, his eyes couldn't hide his affection for Ms. Jiang. Later, while eating with her friend at the restaurant, Ms. Jiang received a call from someone asking her about her free giveaway. Ms. Jiang is taken back because she is not doing any giveaways. She tells the person it's a wrong number and hangs up, but she keeps getting calls from strange numbers, all asking her about a free giveaway. Checks online, and strange enough, there was indeed a free giveaway post with her information. She soon realizes it is the doing of the scammer, but she could only reply, saying, "Giveaway is over." She returns home exhausted and lies down right at the doorstep to relax for a while. At that moment, someone comes to deliver a food package. Ms. Jiang, who hasn't ordered anything, is surprised. She told the man he is at the wrong unit. The confused man read out her number to confirm he was at the right place. In just seconds, 3 delivery men arrived at her unit, all with different delivery food. This was another prank from the scammer. Ms. Jiang felt like exploding. In the morning, she posted a notice at her door that says the prank calls are being investigated by the cops before heading to the police. She wrote another statement, but the officer said there's no evidence it is the same person, so they would have to treat her cases separately. Ms. Jiang can't keep on living in worries and urgently asked the officers to catch the scammer fast. Ms. returned back to her house only to find that the notice had been removed from the door, indicating someone had been to her apartment. Worried, Ms. Jiang invited the police, and they reviewed the footage they obtained from the security. However, due to the limited CCTV cameras around the area, the officers could not get any useful information. Detective Cheol thought it was not a serious issue and told Ms. Jiang they can't do an investigation just because of missing paper, until he had to ask the delivery men who had come to deliver food packs to Ms. Jiang's unit to send their packages back. In the evening, Daljia comes to check on Ms. Jiang. Concern about a safety asked her to move to a different place. But it's been just 1 week since Ms. Jiang moved. How can she move again? Daljia sarcastically said that Ms. Jiang can take her unpacked things and move easily. The two had a few drinks before Ms. Jiang went to see Daljia off. Ms. Jiang wanted her friend to stay for the night, but Daljia is married so she could not spend the night outside. While Ms. Jiang is saying goodbye to her friend, one of the delivery men from earlier that day is seen still hanging around her place. The next day, Ms. Jiang bumps into a suspicious man while rushing out to go to work. The man was installing a CCTV camera right above Ms. Jiang's doorway. When questioned, the man said he was asked to install it there, but never really mentioned who sent him. While she treats her team members to drinks, Ms. Jiang gets a text message from her mother asking for 1.1 million won. Sensing something wrong, Ms. Jiang texts her mother back, asking about her father. The mother said he had gone for fishing. Ms. Jiang saw that the person wasn't her mother because her mother would have known that her father is dead. After being exposed, the crazy scammer begun tormenting Ms. Jiang even more. In the evening, Ms. Jiang heard the door lock beeping. Seemingly, someone was trying to break in. Ms. Jiang, terrified, froze in place. Luckily, she had locked the door from inside so it could not be opened easily. Then a man peeks inside. Trembling, Ms. Jiang asked who he is. The man said he was sent there for a one-night stand her boyfriend and asked to be let inside. Although scared, Ms. Jiang feels insulted and quickly finds her phone to call the police. The man sees she called the police and left. Ms. Jiang gave a sigh of relief after he is gone. But the moment was cut short when another strange, horny man also showed up at her unit. Only this man will not leave until he gets what he came there for. Lucky for Ms. Jiang, the officer arrived in time to stop the man. Officer Cheo could not suppress his anger and beat the man up. The other colleagues had to step in to restrain him. After the situation is calmed, Officer Cheo gives his card to Ms. Jiang to call if anything and promises he will be on the case right away. The next day, Officer Cheo set out to the location where the washer was shipped from, together with Ms. Jiang. They learned from the lady that the tenant with that address is a young college student who lives alone. When they went inside, the room didn't look like someone still lived there. At first, everyone thought the boy had moved. But when Officer Cheol opened the freezer that was left inside the room, the sight was so terrifying. The young guy has been killed and frozen in the fridge. A couple of weeks ago, the young man was selling his iMac on the used goods site. He had a lot of male buyers wanting to buy from him, but the guy was only interested in female buyers and arranged for the lady to come pick up the item from his place. The lonely guy wanted a love life and planned to win his female buyer over, but then he received a message from the girl saying her brother would be picking the item instead. The young guy is disappointed. His love story ended before it even started. At first, everything was going smoothly until the strange man stabbed the young guy multiple times, killing him. It appears the scammer was also a killer who targets stay-alone individuals and kills them to sell their used belongings. Ms. Jiang is devastated. What if she is the next person to suffer the fate? She had lost composure. Her mind stopped, walking like a living dead. Officer Cheol, worried about her safety, asked to be dropped off at her place and put some officers on watch to guard her. This case sparrow beyond the jurisdiction of the cybercrime team. Since there's been a murder, Officer Cheol was asked to leave everything to the homicide team. However, this didn't stop Cheol from doing his own investigation. He met with a lady with a similar case as Ms. Jiang. The lady recounted her story. At that time, she had ordered an item from online, but it never came. The seller's ID was also removed. She found a similar post and left a comment to warn others. But since that day, she became the scammer's target. He kept tormenting her from one social media to another, sending numerous strange men to her house, and at some point her things started going missing. Then he showed up at her place one night, seemingly there to finish her. It took her desire to survive that she managed to escape from him. It is evidence that the woman has suffered emotionally at the hands of evil scammer. The chief heard what had happened, suddenly showed up at the place. He said it was not good for her to be alone given the threat from the scammer. But Ms. Jiang thought he was stalking her, so she wouldn't let him in. The two struggle with the door, and Ms. Jiang slams his hand with the door. The chief, feeling rejected, curses Ms. Jiang a few times before storming off. Overwhelmed, Ms. Jiang went to the washroom to wash her face to calm down, but saw that someone had used it. On top of that, all her food had been tampered with. Soon the police with the forensic team arrived to find traces to ID their suspect. However, the scammer is extremely cautious. Not a single fingerprint is found. Even the SD card from the camera has been removed. Overwhelmed by everything that has happened, Ms. Jiang passed out, and Officer Cheol took her to the hospital for immediate medication. Later, after she was discharged from the hospital, Ms. Jiang got a call. She thought it was her friend calling, so she didn't check the ID, but it turned out to be the scammer. He said, 10 million for your freedom, wait for him E in your room when at 10, do not call the police, and turn of your phone. Helpless, she could not do anything and silently waited for her fate. Meanwhile, Officer Cho is worried he could not reach Ms. Zhang. He drives to her place, but the scammer suddenly attacks him in his car and subdues him. Seeing it is almost 10, he rushed to Ms. Zhang's unit. But surprisingly, the chief leader, who had been waiting for Ms. Zhang, stopped him at the doorway. The chief blames the scammer for ruining his chances with Ms. Zhang. He hits him a few times with the flower in his hands and gets himself stabbed multiple times. Ms. Zhang returned to her room only to find the chief's lifeless body. Sensing danger, she tried to run, but the crazy scammer caught her. At the same time, Officer Han came to Ms. Zhang after obtaining some information and met Cheol unconscious. Tried to wake him, but saw Ms. Zhang being taken away by the killer. Fear's chase begins. Detective Cheol, who had nearly regained consciousness, slaps himself a few times to stay focused. The two cars tangled on the road, then a speeding truck suddenly ran them over. The small cars were instantly overturned. The killer managed to escape. Ms. Zhang only sustained a minor injury, but Officer Han suffered the most impact. He has to be put on a life machine. If only we could change the cost of time, maybe this wouldn't have gotten this far. After a few days, Detective Cheol receives devastating news. Officer Han has passed away. Detective Cheol meets Ms. Zhang, hoping to get a free sketch of the killer, determined to bring him to justice. But the memory is too painful. She doesn't want to revisit it. However, she called Officer Cheol back with a different idea to make the killer come to them. Perhaps she sees a glimpse of hope that made her change her mind. The duo set out their plan into motion together with Dalja. They set up an account that deals with buying and selling used goods. After several failed attempts, Ms. Zhang finally meets the killer. Facing her tormentor, she could hardly hide her fears. Detective Cheol is stuck in traffic, so she has to buy some time. She asks the killer to allow her to test the item before she would pay for it. Although the killer is suspicious, he agrees to wait outside while she goes to test it. When inside, Ms. Zhang called Detective Cheol and learned he was closing in. However, before she could step outside, the killer blocked her and rendered her unconscious with anesthesia. He was eager to see how she has been living. Perhaps he wants to find new items to sell, but finds out the place isn't his place. He rushes to check her and finds she is gone. It turned out she had blocked her nose with cotton, so the anesthesia did not work. However, she was soon discovered by the killer. He prepared to eliminate her, saying she was the only one that knew his face. But just then, Detective Cheol jumped on him and punched him a few times. But the killer, still armed with the knife, stabbed him. Even so, Detective Cheol could not care much and continued to fight despite the pain. The killer soon gained the upper hand and struck Detective Cheol's head with a metal rod. Ms. Zhang shoots multiple nails on his back and his chest, but this only enrages the killer. With one fist, he sent Ms. Zhang flying. The killer goes completely overboard and was going to end Ms. Zhang. Detective Cheol, gathering his last strength, throws himself on the killer, and both fall through the window onto a car. In the aftermath, Detective Cheol survived the fall. Ms. Zhang gained her life back, and the crazy scammer, he paid an ultimate price with his life. Thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe to my channel.